You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Women of Impact breakfast. My name is Kelly Walsh, and I have the great privilege of being Impact 100 Metro Detroit president. We are so excited to have each of you here today. Impact 100 Metro Detroit is a group of women who come together with our financial resources to provide high-impact $100,000 grants to Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County nonprofits. We are so excited that over the past 6 years, we have provided $864,000 to the community. Not only is the money great, but the impact is what we're really proud of. Since our beginning, we have allowed Empowerment Plan to purchase equipment that provided them to employ women throughout Detroit, and that created coats that give to individuals throughout the country. We also provided funding for 125 children at downtown boxing gym to get to reading level. We offered funding that closed the gap for Maggie's Wigs for Kids to provide a safe space for children when they are often at their most vulnerable. We purchased a building in Detroit for the Lawn Academy that allowed at-risk students to have a safe place to study after school. We funded a culinary program at Zaman International that provides refugee women culinary skills, and they also have baked goods in regional stores. We doubled the garden space at Micah 6 that provides free fruit and vegetables for the Pontiac community. And we're extremely excited to help our 2021 grant winners, Freedom House Detroit and Developing Kids, as they start to embark on their high transformation grants. We do really big things, but we need women to join our forces. Our goal this year is to give 3 $100,000 grants. I am so excited to share that as of today, 145 women have already joined into that mission, but we need more women to join us. And we hope that this is something that would resonate with you. We are excited to share all of our resources with all women, and all of our activities are open to all women in the region. Now, this breakfast was created 3 years ago, back when we didn't think twice about walking into a room with 400 people. But today we're back still in virtual, and that allows us to have a little bit of flexibility. As we thought about this program this morning, we really wanted to talk about wealth and philanthropic power. Why? Well, as we've started to talk to women and through our recruiting efforts, and as we're reaching out to people in the community, everyone often kind of bristles at the idea of being a philanthropic leader and says, well, that's not me, that's for others. And we believe that when women have wealth, our communities are stronger. Today, our speakers, Jeannie Sager, with the director of the Women's Philanthropy Institute at Indiana University, Lilly School of Philanthropy, and Lindsey Bell, a chief investment strategist at Ally, will help us kind of put some real data and knowledge behind that very bold statement. We hope that you leave today feeling inspired, feeling connected to other women that are like philanthropically minded, and that you go and share this information with others. We also hope that as you're learning more about igniting your philanthropic power, if Impact 100 Metro Detroit is a place that you want to be part of, we would love to have you join us. Our membership is open through December 31st. You can go online and pledge today and pay through a variety of different ways up until that time. A few housekeeping items. Please use the chat. We want to connect with one another to ask questions. The way that this morning is going to work is Lindsey Bell is going to start us off with a keynote, and then we'll move into a virtual fireside chat with Jeannie. And then Kelly Davis-Patton, one of our membership chairs, will be sharing a little bit more about impact, and then we'll come together for a conversation with Lindsey and Jeannie. So sit back, settle in, grab your coffee. I hope you have a wonderful morning. We're so honored and proud that you and 400 other women in this region found this topic to be of interest. Enjoy and have a wonderful morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you ladies. First, before I get started, I really just want to praise you all for the work that you've done for your community by joining forces to really become powerful philanthropists. You've done so much already, and there's so much more to do. Now, as Kelly mentioned, and as the slide says here, I'm going to talk about women and investing. Now, part of that's because we are all women here, and it's no secret that when it comes to investing, we as women, we think about it differently. We feel differently about investing. We approach it differently. We're just different than the boys, and that's not a bad thing. One thing, though, that is generally true when it comes to men, women, and investing, it's really that we associate investing primarily with planning for retirement. It's really like the first thing that comes to our mind when we start thinking about investing. But there are a lot of other reasons for people to invest. And one of the biggest really is investing to generate wealth overall. And you could do a lot of different things with wealth, right? You could take that dream vacation, you can buy that fancy car. Those are some things people just naturally associate with wealth. But wealth accumulation is a whole different animal. It can give you peace of mind so that you feel prepared if an unexpected expense arises. But it can also be a form of career freedom. So you're not stuck in that dead-end job that you hate. In a way, wealth accumulation gives you control over your career. And wealth can be used for a lot of other things like donating or providing greater donations to charities that you love. In other words, when we think about investing, we think about wealth, and it can be used to make your philanthropic endeavors more impactful. And so that's how I kind of want you to think about investing this morning. Moving through the slides here, you can stop on the facts there. So if you like, just a couple more thoughts here, but it's easy to think about investing as a path for your future, for retirement, right? But what we need to do as women, as a society really is change our mindset about how investing can be used as a tool for many other things that are important to us. When you think about when you know what your why is when it comes to investing, it makes you much more excited to invest. It also becomes less intimidating, and it's much easier to understand. And we as women need that more than anyone. Now, getting there is a little bit more difficult than it sounds. So here we got some facts up here. And the problem is that only 14% of women believe that it's important to invest. And to me, that shows me that we're thinking about investing the wrong way, or some of us might just simply not really be thinking about it. It could fall very much lower on our priority list. But when I talk about that why to invest, well, we all know why we're not investing, or why we can't invest, or why we think we can't invest. And that's here at the bottom. Most women don't invest because we just simply don't think we have enough money to invest. But women also don't invest for a lot of different reasons. One is we lack confidence in our ability to invest. We have limited time to dedicate to investing. Like who has time to add portfolio manager to their resume, right? When we've already have a million things going on and we're stretched to our limits as it is. But also women are more risk aware. That's one of the reasons why we don't invest. I know a lot of people will say we're risk adverse. I hate that term. I like to think of it as being more risk aware. We want to know the risks associated with any investment, especially when it comes to our money. And I think that feeds back into our caregiver nature. And it's a big reason why a group like you guys exist. So what I will point out here on the top right is that 59% of us are savers. We feel good about saving money. It's in a way how we think about managing risk subconsciously. And risk, when I talk about investing, is something that we haven't really been taught. But the reality is when it comes to money in general, we're, as women, are already in control of the household finances. We are, in a sense, the CFO of the home. In many cases, 70% of household spending and managing monthly budgets is done by women. And that should give us confidence that we know what to do with money, including what to do when it comes to investing. So now on the next slide, we'll see, despite all the reasons that we don't invest, we have plenty of them, right? We still deep down know that we should be investing, right? So here's some really great stats. 82% of us wish that we started investing earlier. 86% think it's important to start investing when you're young. And 75% of women say they wish they started investing when they were under the age of 30. So, okay, we all feel guilty that we didn't start investing sooner, or that we're not investing, or whatever it is. But I only share these statistics not to make you feel bad about it if you haven't started investing. I really share them to let you know that you are not alone in having those feelings. I'm not here to make you feel bad about it. I'm actually here to tell you that it's not too late to get started when it comes to investing. I often get asked by a lot of people, well, when should I start investing? And for me, the answer to that question is always the same. People think about the question, when do I start, by, a lot of times it's what age do I need to start, as we're showing here in these stats. But sometimes it could be, what time of year should I start? What phase in my life should I start? But my answer to this question, no matter what context you're coming at it from, is always, you should start investing now, no matter where you're at in your life, how old you are, or what your goals are in the future. But because we all have financial goals in the future. See, the misconception is that oftentimes people think about the stock market or investing in extremes. And so I think women, we get caught up in this too. You either think you're going to get rich by putting your money to work in the stock market, or you think you're going to lose it all. And the truth is that the stock market, good news for us women, is that it's a long game. And that plays into our nature as women, as caregivers. We're patient. We have self-control, ladies, and we're a heck of a lot less emotional about market swings than the men are. So that's a really good thing for us. And that's something I want you to remember as you think about investing and the conversation as we go through it today. So there's a lot of research that supports that. And if we move to the next slide here, we can see some really, really great stats. And we are becoming a lot more self-aware about all this stuff that I'm talking about. So 30% of married women, 30% more women are making financial and investment decisions today than they were 5 years ago. That's huge. We're having increasing influence on the investments in the household. And part of that is, here in the second bucket, is that us as women, we're becoming more and more the family breadwinners. So that means, to me, okay, women, we have more money, so there's more money left over for investing. But what is most important about this this information to me is that women have more money, and it's their money. That's the most important thing. It's their money. And that gives us as women more control over that money. It gives us more confidence to use that money. And what we found at Allies, that if you are using that money for investing, if you take that very first step to open an investment account, you're going to feel a lot more confident about your stock market skills, about your investing skills. And what we've also found that in the course of the pandemic, I'm sure you've seen a ton of different statistics out there about how brokerage firms like Ally Invest, as an example, but Robinhood and a lot of others have really seen the number of investment accounts just open up widely. So a lot of people are opening accounts, and guess what? It's more women opening accounts than men, maybe because we've been, slow to the game. But the point is that we're on the right path. We're beginning to change that mindset I talked about our ability to invest. And hopefully with some of these stats and this story that I shared with you, hopefully you're starting to think more about your why. Why should you invest? It doesn't just have to be for retirement. There's a lot of reasons. And one of those is investing can ultimately be a tool in your chest that benefits your community and your philanthropic goals. So just keep that in mind as we talk through the conversation today. So with that, I'll take a pause. I don't know if we want to take questions now or we want to pass it on to the next segment of the presentation.
I think we can turn that over to Jeannie and I.
Sure, I'm unmuting myself. Okay.
Oh,
Good morning, everyone.
good morning. Hey, how are you, Jeannie?
I'm good. Wow, Lindsey's presentation. I can't think of a better 1-2 punch, Lisa.
Unbelievable. The last statement, and Lindsey, I say this so sincerely, like, what is your why? Like sometimes I think we think about investing and it's wealth, it's selfishness, and this is, you can really do good with that. So Lindsey, thank you. We will be bringing Lindsey back. So everybody, if you've got questions, hold them for Lindsey. I now have the absolute pleasure of introducing Jeannie Sager. So Jeannie, if you allow me 2 minutes to introduce you, I would love to move us into you telling us about WPI, and then we can get into that fireside chat.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, and again, I've had the luxury of reading Jeannie's output of the report that they've done. It's fantastic. But Jeannie is the director of the Women's Philanthropy Institute at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. She's a seasoned nonprofit executive with over 25 years of experience in healthcare, higher education, and independent school leadership. She leads WPI's efforts to translate research into real practice. And she also works closely with WPI's National Advisory Council, as well as serves on the executive committee. In her spare time, if there is any, she also works on the board of directors for Girls Incorporated of Greater Indiana, as well as Women for Change Indiana. So again, I'm seeing a trend and a passion around women for you, Jeannie. But as I said, we've had the luxury and the pleasure of reading some of your research, but could you introduce WPI to us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much for the invitation to amplify our work. For those of you, again, who may be less familiar with the Women's Philanthropy Institute, or as we call it, WPI, again, housed at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. We are the only research institute dedicated to the study of gender and philanthropy. And the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy is the first and only school of philanthropy in the world. At WPI, our mission is to conduct, curate, and disseminate research that grows women's philanthropy. And as you've heard from Lindsey, the reason we exist is because of the promise and the potential of women. WPI seeks to increase understanding of women's philanthropy through rigorous research and education, interpreting and sharing our insights broadly to improve philanthropy And at WPI, we envision a world where women donors understand and use their growing power and influence to support the causes that they care about, where fundraisers and nonprofit leaders take women seriously and approach them in ways that appeal to them, and where both women and men are giving more and giving more intentionally and effectively. So WPI has been, for over more than a decade, has looked at the intersection of gender and philanthropy from many angles. And what we know is that the bottom line is that gender matters in philanthropy. And as you've heard from Lindsey and the trends with regards to women and wealth, women have incredible philanthropic power. But what we know now is that their giving is unique, and women donors and the households that they are the chief financial officers of really need to be better understood. And so why do we focus on women's philanthropy? And it's because of all the things that Lindsey shared with you. Women's wealth and influence are growing. But wealth is just one way to measure, right? The growing influence of women. They also are beginning to earn more in terms of income. They are rising to higher levels in government and industry. And looking at families, again, it appears that today, women have more input in their own families than in the past. And we know that women are more likely than men to be the sole decider in their households when it comes to giving decisions. And so our research falls into three broad categories. We answer broad questions, in particular about how and why women and men give. We also conduct focus studies on gender differences in the various intersections of philanthropy that include impact investing, retirement, life satisfaction, and the intergenerational transmission of generosity. And then a newer strand of our research is giving to women and girls. So women and girls as recipients of philanthropy. And we have about 6 reports examining this topic. And I put the link to our website in the chat, and all of our reports and infographics are available for you to download and review. So please feel free to take a look at that. And before we go into the fireside chat, I just want to share a couple of our basic findings from more than a decade of research. So women are more likely to give than men. This is true across demographic factors like age and race or ethnicity, and it's true of both online and offline giving. Women give more than men, holding other factors like wealth or income constant. Women are more likely to give to almost every type of nonprofit or cause area. The only area that women don't give more than men is sports related. But women tend to spread out their giving more. And so they get less recognition for their generosity because so many nonprofits aren't fully understanding the scope and scale of an individual women's donor's gifts. And I know that you guys are going to relate to this. Women give for different reasons than men. So what we found is that women are more motivated to give by empathy, but men are often motivated by self-interest. Now, it's not that men are not empathetic. We think, and Lindsey referred to this earlier, because women are socialized into more helping, nurturing roles from an early age, these behaviors become ingrained and form the basis of many of their actions, from how they look at investing to how they give money away. And this also means that men will respond more to having their name on something that shows that they gave, right? Women also give differently than men. Collective giving, the reason why we are here today, resonates with a lot of women. And about 70% of all giving circles are majority women. We also know that high net worth women donors primarily give through a donor advised fund or family foundation. So women like to consult with others and like to use tools that connect with family. I'll also note again that WPI has started a new strand of research over the last 5 years on giving to women's and girls' causes. And this area is getting a lot of attention, particularly after our Women and Girls Index determined that these organizations receive less than 2% of all philanthropic dollars. So Lisa, that's a broad overview of the work. There are over 25 reports and over 150 data points that demonstrate that gender matters in philanthropy. So please feel free to, everyone here today, to visit the website. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I hope that many of you in the audience will be able to see yourself and your communities in these findings, and feel confident that the research reflects how you give and how you engage as a philanthropist.
Jeannie, that was so good. Thank you for the overview. We absolutely needed that. And it was great grounding. Now I'm going to go completely off script because I do have a question for you, because you're so great and passionate around it. So as you've done the research and you've done it over time, what do you find now most interesting? What speaks to you as someone who's vetted in the space?
So it doesn't surprise me that, and I saw some things come up in the chat, that women give more, that they're, that they give differently. I mean, that seems intuitive. We are different than men, right? So, I think what I appreciate about the Women's Philanthropy Institute is that, our focus is really on that rigorous research and that data, because I think that, and let me back up a little bit. So I come to this work as a practitioner. So for over 25 years, I was kind of on the front lines as a fundraiser and a nonprofit leader. And so used the research and tried to put that research to practice, understood how women give as I worked with them as donors and also as a personal philanthropist, right? Yeah. But I think it's really important when we're able to ask the research questions, have that data, because to your point, it matters. What it does is it takes those differences that we kind of know and feel on the ground and allows women to feel confident that the way they give and that the way they like to give, is shared. Kind of this idea that we all kind of, it is a shared experience. And just because the way we do fundraising in this country doesn't necessarily respond or appeal to us, right, as women, because it's really, it's unconsciously has been set up, it was created in the 1960s for who then was the major donor, who was a white straight man, right? And fast forward to 2021, the average donor to any nonprofit organization today is a 64-year-old white woman. But we're still trying to approach women the way we approach men. I mean, even down to kind of the language we use in the nonprofit and the fundraising field, right? It's very military. It's like, we have we have development officers. We run fundraising.
That's
campaigns.
Really interesting.
We always have, there's always a challenge. The research shows that none of that is that doesn't really resonate for women. And it's not like we can't code switch. We've been doing it all our lives.
Right.
So we'll do it and we'll respond and we'll excel in that. But just imagine if we could actually begin to change donor behavior and change to change donor behavior to ensure that organizations are speaking to us and relating to us and engaging with us the way we prefer.
So
think how much more money we could raise.
Oh,
and think about how much more money could come into the system to impact good.
To do good, exactly. So Jeannie, you started to allude to this. So with your last statement, how do you find women like to give now? What does that look like? What does it feel like? And I know you touched on this, but if you could dig into a little bit more, how women want to give now and what's motivating them.
So let's unpack the motivation piece a little bit more. I talked about empathy as a primary motivator. I think an easy way to think about this, the shorthand is that women give from the head, the heart, and the hands. They really want it to be, it's experiential for them. And in general, they don't just want to write a check. They really are interested in engaging with the organizations where they give to. And the research shows that women are more likely to give to organizations where they have a personal connection or an alignment with political or philosophical beliefs. And they're more likely to bring their values to the table. The research shows that they're going to cite volunteering or serving on a board as motivation for giving. And they, again, as I mentioned in the broad overview, they're less motivated by tax advantages and public recognition, but highly motivated by connections to and volunteering for the causes they care about. And again, they're more likely to bring their entire family and their networks into the conversation. So I always say that the gifts of time, talent, testimony, meaning your willingness to advocate for a cause, and your ties, meaning your social networks, are very important when women are even considering a gift of treasure. And in terms of how women like to give together. So there's been this exponential growth of giving circles over the past 10 years. And even still, though, women continue to comprise the majority of collective giving network members. And they're really a force to be reckoned with right now in philanthropy. You know, our latest study found that the number of giving circles in the United States tripled in 10 years, from 2007 to 2017. And the growth and diversity of the ecosystem for giving circles, you know, has extended beyond women, which still make up 70%, right? But now we've got LGBTQ+, men only, Jewish, African American, so it's an exciting moment that women inspired, truly. And what I really love about the growth of the giving circle movement is that what it's done, and what Impact100 Detroit demonstrates, right? It's provided countless opportunities for women in philanthropy. So women have really been able to step fully into leadership roles in giving circles. They've learned about their communities.
Yes.
They've engaged deeply with nonprofits. And in some cases, they've actually even influenced public policy. And that's an exciting and interesting thing that's happening with giving circles around the country. And then when you think about your members, we did a study that examined giving circle members, and it showed that these women tap their social networks more strategically for philanthropic advice. They want to hear from each other what they're doing, you know, what they're giving to and how they're giving. And their philanthropic networks are more diverse. Furthermore, the study affirmed that giving circle members, they give more strategically and proactively, and they give to a wider array of organizations and causes, and are more likely to engage in civic activities. So the amazing thing about giving circles is that, again, it's an opportunity to meet women where they are and allow them to give in ways to appeal to them. And and giving circles provide community. They provide a philanthropic community. All of these things, as the research demonstrates, are ways to, again, like I said, meet women where they are and invite them in and teach them the joy of giving.
Yeah.
Because they're already inclined. This is just a way that makes it easier for them to say, okay, I'm gonna try this.
And Jeannie, it's so interesting, even, you know, from my own experience in joining Impact, there's been, I'd say, professional development for me, right? I mean, you're engaging with a group of folks that you wouldn't typically engage with, right? Cross industry, what have you. And it's really learning about the community as well, which is so amazing. And I will tell you, I love what you said about the potential to impact policy, right? Because if you can impact policy, that's big. I mean, that's tangible. So that's a takeaway. And then I'm trying to capture all my T's here. So let me go back. So we've got time, talent, testimony,
yes,
ties,
yes,
together. Did I capture them all? I feel like I might have missed one.
Yeah, and treasure is 5.
Treasure.
But then I tend to, whenever I go down this path, I end up thinking of more T's. So trust, I think, is a big thing for women. And then you just said, and then I was having a similar conversation a couple weeks ago, and somebody mentioned transparency as a piece of what motivates and how women give.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, and I know you've alluded to this, but why is women's giving so important?
Yeah. Well, I think when we started this conversation, I mentioned what a great 1-2 punch, because a lot of the things that Lindsey shared with us in terms of the data around women and investing are the exact reasons why it's important to bring more women and really understand women in philanthropy, because it's about potential. And what's interesting, and I shared a little bit about this in your first question, is that the financial industry has really, done a good job of kind of figuring this out and really working with advisors to help connect with and understand women better, right? But you just have to look at the numbers, right? Women make up more than half of the population. The demographics keep changing. And so if we know that gender matters when it comes to philanthropy, why aren't we adapting more quickly so that we engage men and women in the ways that we appeal in them, right? And I have a colleague, Kathleen Lair, and I love what she says about this. She says that when you approach women like men, you lose the women. And when you approach women as they prefer, you get the women and the men, because women, as the research shows, tend to bring the men along when it comes to philanthropy. And so last year, Giving USA told us in 2020, over $470 billion was received in charitable giving. Now think about what this number would be if we were engaging more women, more donors of color, communities that have always been present, have always been philanthropic. But if we were just doing a better job of inspiring them to give.
No, that's great. And it's interesting, even in Lindsey's remarks, she had talked about impact investing, right? And I know that we've got socially conscious funds now that are being developed that are really speaking to what's important to women as they're entering in to the investment momentum or aligning to the momentum. All right, Jeannie, I have one more question for you, and then I will set you free until we come back to Q&A, and then I'm going to bring you back. But my last question is, what do you see the future of philanthropy as in the context of women philanthropy in the future? What do you see?
Yeah, so the future of women in philanthropy is exciting, right? At WPI, we believe that engaging better with women as donors will help women's philanthropy reach its full power. And again, that very important word, potential. And that because of what the research shows about how women approach philanthropy, we think that they can actually lead the charge for more strategic philanthropy. Really, putting their values into action and using their wealth and influence to create a more just, equitable, and healthy society. Because the research also shows that the way women look at wealth is different, right? They see wealth as an opportunity to give back. And when they set goals for themselves in terms of investing, they tend to really think about the other. So it's about when they set goals for themselves, they're thinking about their family, they're thinking about their community. It's never about just themselves, right? And then and just in terms of where we're headed, I'll mention her name. She's making headlines everywhere, but Mackenzie Scott is providing a very interesting example of this potential and future of women's philanthropy. And so, as all of you know, she is making headlines with really bold gifts, totaling nearly $9 billion to date to hundreds of organizations. And then her commitment was really extraordinary in terms of amount in a single year from a single woman. And its scope, its scale, its transparency, and impact exemplify the potential of women who are interested in engaging in bold philanthropy. But she joins a growing movement to increase the visibility and voice of women as donors. And I think may reveal a new era in women's philanthropy. So often we talk about that the research shows that women aren't motivated by public recognition. And she's not motivated by public recognition. She is actually, when she talks about her giving, she says that she doesn't really want to talk about it, but she knows that if it inspires others, then she feels responsible in helping, right?
Yes.
And she has a data-driven approach, which, as you can imagine, WPI loves.
Right.
She is,
sure.
She's all about a quick disbursement of unsolicited and unrestricted gifts. So we're not going to dole this out over 5 years.
Yes.
And again, she invites others to join her. And so she's a great example, but I want to say this in particular to this group. It's not only wealthy women who are becoming more outspoken and visible in their giving. Again, back to this exponential growth of giving circles. That growth indicates that philanthropy appeals to many donors at many gift levels. Just a matter of bringing them in and teaching them the power, right, of being able to use philanthropy as agency. And this recognition of a broader definition of philanthropy also brings attention to women's giving that's been happening all along. I think that a lot of times women resist that identity of philanthropist because that's somebody else, right? And generally it has a white old man's face to it. Let's just be really honest. But when we talk about philanthropy being more than just giving money, it's really about all the different ways that you engage in your community and the resources that you bring to the table. But it's really about generosity. Women come. They're like, oh yeah, I do that. I know that. So the potential of engaging not only more female donors and paying attention to also women of color and from other marginalized communities in society is only going to increase the impact that can be made. And giving circles have been an amazing and transformative way for more people to come in and engage in this important and exciting and inspiring work. So, I applaud what you're doing at Impact100 Detroit, and I love your goal. 3 grants of $100,000. Talk about impact.
We do better together, right? And Jeannie, thank you so much. That was so good, and we absolutely appreciate it. I am going to ask you to hang out with us, though, just for a little bit more, because we are going to come back to Q&A. But so thank you very, very much. What I have the pleasure of doing now is introducing one of my member mates of Impact100 Metro Detroit, Kelly Davis Patton, who we all affectionately call KDP. And I really had to struggle with getting your whole last name out, Kelly, because I'm so used to KDP. But she's going to tell you about her journey to and with Impact100 Metro Detroit. Kelly, take it away, friend.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Davis Patton, or KDP, and I joined Impact100 Metro Detroit in October of 2020. So it's official. I can no longer say I'm a newbie, but what I can say is joining has changed my life in so many ways. You may be asking yourself how, which is a great question, but I'll go one step further and share with you my why. Because today, that's the $1,000 question. While at a board retreat over the summer, I learned everyone's reason or their why is so different. So why did I join? I was raised by an incredibly strong woman who was constantly showing me the importance of reaching one hand back and one hand forward, that our strength really lies in our community mentality. My mother also lives a life of giving back, both of her skills and time, and also her finances. I've done the same, giving of my time and my gifts to local organizations, but feeling disconnected from my gifts and from those that were giving with me. I wanted to be a part of a collective of women who cared about their community, who wanted the people in it to really win, and who were willing to show up in a big way. I was introduced to Impact 100, a nonprofit supporting nonprofits. And as luck would have it, the first person I meet is Amy Boak, the former president, and then Kelly Walsh, the current president, and the details from there of how these women of this organization have invited me in, first on the membership committee, brainstorming ideas, and now on the board, helping to shape this next chapter. Oh, and add to that, they've also rallied for me during hard times, cheered me on during some of my personal big wins. I could honestly talk to y'all for hours, but it's Thursday morning and we have things to get back to, so I will leave you with this. Why do I stay? I stay because these women have become my family. I stay because these women care not just about themselves or the other members, but also our community. I stay because I saw the tears running down CEO Kimberly Johnson's face of developing kids when she found out they'd just been awarded one of two $100,000 grants at my first Big Give event. I stay because I've heard the transformative stories from former grant recipients like Zaman International of the lives they've changed, the community impact they've had with the grant that we awarded to them. So my question to you this morning is why not? Why not join us? Yes, let's be honest, this is a stop and think commitment, but the work that we do, the impact we are able to have is far bigger as a result. So join us, pledge today, and your commitment won't be due until the end of the year. We also have scholarship opportunities. And if you are new to us, put your name in the chat because one person is going to be alerted on Friday that they've received a paid membership, thanks to the generosity of our amazing members. So again, why not? Why not be a part of something magical as we near our $500,000 mark of gives and continue on our path to truly fuel transformation in our community? Thank you, everyone.
Kelly, that was so good. Perfect. And we are going to bring Jeannie and Lindsey back, and we are going to move into our Q&A. There we are. Thank you, ladies. Well, we've had a ton of questions come in. I am going to ask you two, because again, as KDP said, and we cannot call her KDP at this point, but we've got two, but I'm going to kick off with one in particular, and I'm going to give Deb DeSico, who is part of our group as well, the credit for this, because I think she phrased it so well, and it was exactly sort of the juxtaposition that we find ourselves. So, and there she is. So, so as a board, and I say this, as a board in our small groups, even as we put this opportunity together for everyone, what we struggled with is even naming it, because we struggled with the word wealth, and then we struggled with the fact that we are philanthropists. So we don't struggle with the word philanthropy, we struggle with the fact that owning our ability to be a philanthropist. So how do we, and maybe how do we reframe that? How do we reframe that to say we are investors, we are philanthropists, and how do we own that? I'm going to start with Lindsey, and then Jeannie, if you could give us your thoughts too.
Yeah, I mean, it is a shame that we don't own that, but I think between what I spoke about and what Jeannie spoke about, you see there's a lot of connection between those two words, between wealth and between philanthropists, and you can even throw investing in there too. And women, we're special people, and we think about those things in a completely different way than the men. And the world can benefit, our communities can benefit from that. I think it's just something that we have to learn to own. And it gets back to, I talked a lot about changing your mindset when it comes to investing, when it comes to wealth. And I think it really is, it's on us to change our mindset and really embrace the fact that that we can be wealthy, we can be investors, and we can be really good philanthropists. And you know what? There's a lot of women in this session today, a lot of women out there that feel exactly the same way. I think that's another connecting thread between what both of us spoke about. And the one thing that I don't think we do, and organizations like yours are doing it, is you're bringing women together to talk about these issues, to put their money together and make these things happen. And I think these are just taboo topics, I think, for a lot of women. And so we don't talk about it enough. And the men talk about money and investing all the time. And we've been told that's not what women or girls should be talking about. We talk to our children, our girls, differently than we talk to the boys, and it all starts there too. So I think it's just a conversation that you guys are doing a great job of bringing to the surface, and we need to just keep, as a collective whole, bubbling it up to the top and continue that conversation, keep it going.
Yes, here. And what I'll add to that, what Lindsey shared, is that it's a systems issue. We have kind of built money and wealth, the infrastructure here, to speak again to men, just the way we built kind of fundraising to speak to men. And it's really about changing the narrative and really embracing, that's why the research is so important, embracing that the way we approach the world and approach life is not a bad thing. Right? Like we add a lot to the conversation. We make the world better. And so kind of reimagining and changing that narrative to say, you know what, this is how I approach the world, and this is how I, see money. But it really is about money. It's why using the word philanthropist and philanthropy is such a hard thing for women, because we're just not there yet. We're not comfortable yet, for all the reasons Lindsey shared about talking about money. And so that's why when we talk about this expanded definition of philanthropy, we need to continue to push that. And models like Impact100 are great because it speaks to all of the different ways that women want to engage with their resources, and provides them with this kind of larger understanding of what generosity means beyond money. But also, to Lindsey's point, as women, we're not going to be able to advance until we really understand financial independence. And what I love about kind of on the philanthropy end is, with financial independence, comes greater impact for a community, because women will give, and women give, they give more. So yeah, that's what I have to say. So it's up to us to kind of change the narrative, and everything takes practice, right? So it's just a matter of just doing it. And I had a time to go quickly through the chat, and everyone was talking about, how easy Impact100 allows you at whatever stage in your life to just start, to just get a taste of it, or go all in and spend a lot of time. But again, it's this opportunity to meet you where you are, and just try it. Just try it. To Lindsey's point, just invest, just start.
Exactly. Ladies, I'm going to ask you just one more question, and then we'll wrap. We're going to be respectful of your time as well as that of our guests. So thank you. But I do want to ask this question because it's come up a couple of times in the chat. And so the question is, and either one can start. So thoughts on giving one large donation to one organization, or give that same amount across more organizations, so smaller contributions to more. Any thoughts on that question?
I'll let Jeanine go. She's probably more experienced, has a better answer than I do.
So Lindsey kind of talked about like this hesitation sometimes for women to just get started, to just invest, because it seems overwhelming. So the thing about women and giving is I think we overthink it sometimes. So, it's, oh, do I? And so then what it causes is donor paralysis, right? So I have this pot of money, And, is it better to the point of that question, to give a large gift to an organization, or gosh, I like all of these different, missions speak to me, and I want to be able to provide. So what I say to that is neither is wrong. Neither is wrong. But what you really want to do, and I encourage all of you to do, is really take stock of what we call, it's a process called vision, values, and voice. And maybe I can come back for another time and we can do it as a group.
Anytime.
But it's this idea of really thinking about your values and then how it matches up with your giving. Right? Because what you're going to find out is so much of your giving is a bit transactional. Right. So you're giving to the annual fund at your kid's school or the PTA, and you need to give, you need to make commitments to whatever boards that you sit on. Your husband has some things that that you need to give to. People come around every day and they're like, oh, will you support this? Right. And so a giving plan that really takes into account your vision, values, and voice allows you to say no when you need to say no, but it also allows you to really think about all the different ways you give. So it's not just dollars, it's not just this pot of money. So let's say you have a year where maybe you don't let's just think about the last 18 months, right? All of a sudden you don't have that same pot of money to give away. So how do you engage in philanthropy so that you're still supporting these causes that match up with your values? So do you do more advocacy? Do you do more volunteering? But account for all of that. Again, about think of your giving as assets, and put a percentage not only to the dollars that you give away, but the time. Women never consider we don't consider our time enough as how valuable. Put an hourly rate on your on your volunteering and celebrate that and your giving plan, because it equates, right? There is a opportunity cost there, and you are choosing to give that to an organization, to a cause. So account for that in your giving. And what it does when you kind of put it on paper, you think about it, it helps you make those decisions. One large gift or several small gifts. What's going to make me happier? What matches up better with my values? Nothing is wrong or right. You're giving, so all's good, right? But don't forget all the other ways that you give. Take it to, expand your definition. Expand your definition of philanthropy beyond money. And then what's nice about a giving plan is that you can look back at it, just like taxes, take a look at it every year. Make sure you're sticking to what it is that you really want to do and the change that you want to make in the world.
Yeah, I'll echo everything you say. I love the way you explain that. And it really gets to that point is why are you doing it? What matters to you? Like you have certain obligations, but being able to look back at it at the end of the year and see how you allocated your money and your time is going to make you realize you're either doing it the right way or maybe not the way you want to do it. And you can reassess in the year ahead too. So I think that's such great advice. Thank you for that, Jeannie.
Well, ladies, thank you both so very much. The conversation, the presentations were so good. And I think if we set out with our goal of really saying, hey, look, women need to think about how to invest. And if they invest, they can do good and be very intentional about the good they do. You guys helped us absolutely achieve that goal. So thank you so much. We're grateful. To everyone who's on the call, thank you for your time. Again, to Janine's point, we appreciate what you've done for us and joining us. You'll find that we've got information for you in the chat. And with that, I will put you off on your Thursday morning. But thank you all so very much. Have a great day.